No,
Oh,
John...
you meant actually John. Oh, okay.
not that Papa. Oh, fucking A.
For a second, I thought you meant like Papa John, the guy who runs Papa John, or used to run
No, I'm
Papa
talking
now.
about our John.
He got
Man, I'm
into some
hungry
trouble.
now.
Oh, better censor any tie, said Papa. Oh.
You should actually censor that though.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Anime Club After Dark, the podcast that delves into all things anime, manga, and otaku culture related. I'm your host, Alex, but you can call me Senpai, and joining me tonight, I have our chivalry of Shotas, Shotaro.
I put the hot in thought.
That's true. And our poser extraordinaire, Nitai.
Uh-huh.
He puts the poser in imposer extraordinaire.
Wow. Okay. That was weak. I could tell you practiced yours for a long time.
Can I leave? I'll just.
Yes,
go.
We're gone. Bye.
Bye.
You can do this whole thing by yourself.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. Bye.
Okay, so we have an interesting topic to get into tonight. But before we do that, I want to share with you guys a wonderful new or relatively new service that's available on the internet right now for everyone.
So what's that about? Because you talked about it briefly.
I did talk about it very briefly on our Facebook group, which if you are not a part of, you should be. But so the basic premise is this, and I think a lot of us as anime fans have been there at one point or another, is, you're on like some kind of social media like Facebook, Twitter, whatever, and someone posts a screen cap from an anime. It could be an anime that's airing, an anime that aired a long time ago, what have you. But it's a screen cap from an anime that you are not quite sure what that anime is. What anime is that screen cap from? And the person who posted this has been kind enough not to include the source. So, the option that you have right now is to just, send him a comment and say, hey, what anime is this? Or, what's the source? Or, give me the sauce. But now you have a second option, and that option is called WAIT, W-A-I-T, or what anime is this? So it's a service that works sort of like a reverse image lookup system, where you put in the screen cap in question from an anime, and within a few seconds, it will spit out not only the title of the anime that it's from, but it will give you the episode number that particular screen cap is from, and in most instances, a rough timestamp or a span of timestamps as to when that particular screen cap is from in that particular episode. So, I mean, it's really simple. The URL is whatanime.ga, and I'll put a link to it in the description below. It's still sort of an alpha, and it works pretty good for any anime that aired after the year 2000. And they're still building out the library for this thing, but it works pretty good from what I've used so far. And I definitely highly encourage you to use it if someone does post a screen cap to an anime and you're not quite sure what it is.
So if you're surfing the interwebs and you see this like good anime meme and you're wondering to yourself, oh wait, where's this booty from? Now we can find out.
Yes.
Thanks, Internet.
Thank you, Internet. It's a service that, let's be honest, it's a service that we've needed for a while, but because I'm so sick and tired of posting something like a screen cap from a recent episode of a show, and someone's like, "What is this from?"
They're still gonna ask that.
I know they are, but listen, I've done my part. You have to do your part at some point. Yeah, like I said, the service is called Wait, or what anime is this? So definitely check it out if you're curious as to what anime a screen cap is from that someone has posted.
But
right,
wait, what anime is this?
What anime is this? I don't know what anime this is. I just know I don't know.
I don't know everything. I just know what I know.
But anyway, yeah. So that's just something I wanted to pass along for people that I feel like there's a lot of people who would listen to this that could actually use that as a service. much like Sauce Now, which is another service you should be using. That's a totally different thing. Anyway, moving on
Not
to
gonna
the
ask.
actual Sauce Now.
What's
Sauce
that?
Now is basically it's a reverse image lookup thing for anime, and it's
Oh.
specifically
For-
for anime fan art.
Gotcha.
And it basically works the same way, where you upload the image and it'll tell you like the site that it was found on, the author, the character that's in it, the series that character is from, and that's even easier. It's saucenao.com, and it's SAUCENAO.com. Anyway, I'll put a link to that in the description too, because people could use that as well. Anyway, so moving on to the actual topic we have at hand tonight, and this topic is very appropriate considering when we're recording this, and we are recording this. What day is this? September 18th, 2018, and a couple of days ago, this time last week, the European Union, in its wisdom, passed Article 13 and Article 11. Basically, these revolve around upload filters and a link tax. So essentially, it's a copyright directive, is what it is. Yes, thank you, EU, for that. And if you really like interested in the ins and outs of this thing, I highly encourage you to go online and look up. There's articles galore about this on right now. So if you really are curious as to what all is in this directive and how absolutely abhorrent it is, definitely go check it out for yourself. But the idea of censorship is what this episode of the podcast is about. We're going to be talking about censorship in the realm of anime, manga, what have you. So I think that the best way to start this out is what I think the answer is obvious, but I'll ask it anyway. What is the purpose of censorship law?
Oh, so if you think the answer is obvious, please enlighten me.
I mean, I think the idea behind censorship law is primarily a good one, although it's never, well, I won't say never, but it's almost never implemented in a really good way. I mean, the idea behind censorship is to protect people who can't protect themselves, which is kind of stupid because a lot of people who are into this kind of stuff are old enough to protect themselves anyway. But censorship is about what a nation or a culture terms as being moral or decent, and it's like censoring stuff that is outside those bounds in that culture or that country. I mean, that's really the purpose of censorship law. That's how I see it.
Yeah, that makes sense, I guess.
I mean, if that is the purpose of censorship, I think it's an outdated law, to be honest.
Oh yeah, I mean, do you want to know what a lot of Japanese companies refer to for their censorship, especially animation production companies refer to for their censorship?
What do they refer to?
It's Article 175 of the Criminal Code of Japan, which was passed in 1907.
Ooh, you don't say.
Yeah, so I can actually read to you the text of this
Please keep
particular law.
going.
It's wow, okay. So the text of this particular law, which again was passed in 1907, says that any person who distributes, sells, or publicly displays any obscene writing, picture, or other material shall be punished with penal servitude for not more than 2 years, or be fined not more than 2.5 million yen, or minor fine. The same shall apply to any person who possesses the same with the intention of selling it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See, my issue with the censorship law is that both the criteria of what is obscene as well as the purpose of why it shouldn't be allowed, they're both very vague and subjective.
It's
and
very
when
nebulous.
When you have a very subjective law, it's usually not going to work out that well.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like hate speech laws. Yeah. But like I said, I think that the purpose behind some censorship law are basically good. Like, obviously, 5-year-old children don't need to see hardcore sex, right?
See, there's a difference because on one hand, some people, and actually the text of the law seems to suggest that the purpose of censorship law is to foster a moral and decent culture, which I disagree with. But what you just said about the 5-year-old children, maybe not everyone has to see this, so maybe like throwing obscene material into the public sphere all willy-nilly is inappropriate. And I would agree with, controlling the obscene material. But when it applies to like manga, where manga isn't really thrown into the public, like if you buy a manga, the person who buys the manga is going to be the person who reads it. He's not going to like, this isn't like a public screening at a theater. It's like a personal purchase. So it really should be up to the responsibility of the customer and the merchant. It's their transaction. I don't know why the law has to come in here.
Well, yeah, it's not like you say, it's not publicly available, it's not free. You actually have to go searching for this stuff if you want it.
Yeah.
Also, when it comes to something like manga or anime or whatever, you kind of, if you're like blocking something like that, that's a piece of art you're censoring, which in terms is sort of like, it's not the same as like not allowing like freedom of speech and such, but it's like kind of, it is, I don't know, it's kind of, that's kind of where it gets me.
I point to, like, if you go to an anime convention, and I mean, I know that you know this show, like if you go to an anime convention and you go like to the dealer's room and there's a booth where they're selling, hentai manga, especially if it's BL or GL. Ooh. All the cover art it's got like pieces of paper in front of it, so you can't see it.
I don't know about what you. The hentai I buy doesn't have a piece of paper in front of it.
No, I'm talking about when it's out there displayed on the at the booth.
Sure. Oh, you mean like the Post-its?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. See, that's fine because it's like you're publicly displaying something, so I can understand.
Yeah, but that's
why
what I'm talking about. It's a balance because that's in public, but people have to go into public to buy it. So there's a balance there, where it's a sort of self-censorship for the people who are selling it.
Well, I think there are actually like some laws restricting them as well. But like in the case of TV anime as well, like you could argue that TV as a medium is like a public thing because that's how it works. So I can see censoring TV anime. But like streaming services like Crunchyroll and Netflix, it doesn't make sense to censor them because streaming is not really public. It's a one-on-one experience between the viewer and the producer. So it doesn't make sense to censor stuff on Crunchyroll.
True. I mean, I would definitely agree with you. So moving this along to anime and manga as we have. So I think there are definitely some reasons to censor, or there are reasons anime and manga, etc. are censored, like things like language, violence, sex/nudity. You get those in there, and like I can understand for some things why they're censored or just taken out entirely. But I mean, are there any other reasons why it should be censored besides the things that I mentioned?
What language is censored?
Well, for a very specific reason, the very recent episode of Geo-Chan School Road, when they mentioned Jump Magazine, they censor that.
Oh, okay. See, when you say language,
different.
I think profanity.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought as well.
You could include profanity in that, although the tendency to censor profane language in anime really isn't there. At least I haven't seen a whole lot of evidence of it, if it ever has been. I don't know how it was maybe back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. I would assume back then they would just not use profane language at all in like the script.
Well,
yeah, the closest thing
to
like censoring like some speech is like I remember vividly moments in No Game No Life where they would references like video games like Skyrim and such. They would just like bleep it out, so it's not really saying the names and stuff, but profanity wise,
Yeah. Or again with the recent Geo-Chan School Road anime, there's so many references to Splinter Cell and Sam Fisher. But
why am I surprised?
That's kind of what I meant by language, not necessarily like foul language, but just words in general that are censored for any reason.
Oh.
But I think that's really rare compared to how often like violence and nudity are censored in anime. I mean, you mentioned it yourself. I mean, before we started recording, like Tokyo Ghoul is a really good example of something
Yeah.
that's censored heavily for violence.
And okay, it pisses me off because the violence in Tokyo Ghoul is like really well animated, especially in the first season.
Mm-hmm.
I watched the censored version and then I looked at this like post comparing the censored animation to the uncensored, and God, it looked so amazing. And I'm like, why
Yeah.
didn't I see this? So it pissed me off with Tokyo Ghoul. It's like, it's a horror anime. It's like the
It's
premise is
gritty,
very
it's gory,
violent.
it's supposed to be violence. And the
Yeah,
moment you
like that's
censor
what I
that, you're
came here for.
yeah. The moment you censor that, you kind of hurt the original vision the creators had. It's like, eh.
And that brings up a really good point too. Does doing something like that to a work of art, does that violate artistic integrity? Does it change what the author or creator actually set out to make?
Yeah, because if you take a show like Attack on Titan, which part of it, which just like Tokyo Ghoul is super gritty, super violent, and very shocking at times. If you were to tone down that violence, the sort of, I don't know, the emotion or like what the mangaka originally tried to portray in that reality just wouldn't come through as well as he wanted it to. So, for example, let's say, um, there was this like this super brutal fight scene, but instead of like seeing the actual consequences of the people around or like people getting hurt and stuff, you just see like a blur. It's like, A, it takes you out of the experience, and B, is like just like not showing you what's happening. It's like, why would you do that? It's like, eh. Thankfully with the Attack on Titan, they're like actually keeping it as gory as it, I guess, supposed to be. So they're keeping their integrity, which is cool to see, I guess.
We can also see something similar happened in in both JoJo's Part 3 and 4
Yeah.
with the violence, because there were times
Not only
when,
violence, also like when that time when Jotaro like smokes a cigarette and then it's like all black around his mouth.
yeah,
You know.
well, that's because he's underage and he's smoking.
I know, but it's like, really?
But yeah, they definitely censored the violence in JoJo's.
The worst case of censorship was 4Kids Yu-Gi-Oh!
Actually, that leads me to another interesting thing. Like, so 4Kids was pretty notorious in the mid to late 90s and even into the early 2000s with its, number one, its horrendously bad English dubs, but number two, with just censoring really weird shit. The thing that comes to mind, like, this is really, really early on, and this shows how long it's been since I've actually watched One Piece, and I can't even remember the fucking character's name.
It's the blonde guy, right?
Yes, and you know what I'm talking about.
Sanji.
Yes, thank you. It's been
I
more
don't even
than
watch
15
One
years
Piece.
since I watched One Piece. But yeah, he, in obviously the original Japanese version, he smokes cigarettes. In the 4Kids version, they go in there and they edit that out and they change it to a lollipop. And it looks so ridiculous.
In Yu-Gi-Oh! In Duel Masters, there's a point where someone points a gun at someone and like threatens him, and in the dub they changed it that he just like points with his finger. It's like, what?
Point the finger and go bang.
Yeah.
Oh man, 4Kids. And then fucking in Pokemon, my god, they couldn't say rice balls. They just had to call them donuts. But I mean, that in a way you can say that that's localization, but I would still call
It's
that
really
censorship.
bad localization, though.
It really is. I mean, it borders on censorship in the sense that it's taking the original intent of the author and completely perverting it into something else. To sometimes comedic effects. Badly comedic effects, but comedic effects nonetheless. I mean, they did I don't remember if this was 4Kids or not, but in the Sailor Moon dub, they changed it to what was it? Sailor Neptune and Sailor Uranus, who in the original are actually lesbian lovers, and then they changed it to like, no, they're just cousins that like each other a lot. That makes it fucking worse.
Sailor Uranus.
Yeah, Sailor Finger Uranus. Anyway, that was bad. I'm sorry. I'm
We're
really
a bunch
sorry
of
about
kids. Yeah,
that one.
sorry.
But it still brings up that point. Does it violate what the author's original intention was?
I mean, all anime and manga has to be localized to some extent, or else it wouldn't be in English. But you know, there's a point where it's too much.
Yeah, I mean, there's a really famous example of I guess you could call this localization that happened with the original U.S. release of Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, where it was originally distributed and edited by New World Pictures here in the U.S. This was in the mid to late 90s. Number one, they changed the title of it. It was Warriors of the Wind when it was originally released, and they cut out nearly a quarter of the material in the film. And I love the excuse that they gave for it is that it wasn't pacifist enough, so we had to cut it out. And I'm like, what?
Okay.
And
Sure.
also, it makes it even worse that when they originally dubbed this, the actors who they brought in to do the dub were never told what the anime's plot was. So, the story that
As with a lot of dubs.
But the point is that Miyazaki was so fucking incensed by this that he instituted a rule at Studio Ghibli for any kind of distribution outside of Japan going forward, and it was no cuts at all. So if you had to cut it, you couldn't get the license to distribute it. And this came to a head in God, when was Mononoke released? I can't remember now. 89? No, 97. Wrong decade. So when Princess Mononoke came out, and it was picked up by Miramax for distribution. This was back when the evil man named Harvey Weinstein was still running the place. He had suggested editing the movie to make it more marketable and less violent to avoid a PG-13 rating. And someone at Studio Ghibli actually got wind of this and had him FedExed an actual Japanese katana with a bamboo message attached to it saying no cuts.
Good job, Japan.
Yeah, they sent it to his house. That was great. This is one of the best stories I've ever heard.
Imagine waking up at 4 a.m. because some mail came to your house and it's a fucking Japanese sword. It's like, what?
And it just has a message in it written in
No
bamboo.
cuts.
No cuts. Oh, man. But, I mean, stories like that, it's like, some of these cuts you're talking about are, like, really stupid. Why would you do them anyway? I don't know. I don't understand why some of these distribution studios, especially back then, thought that they had to censor stuff the way they did.
Yeah, most of the time it's not for really good reasons. It's just silly, really.
For money. They want the most money they can
But not
get.
really. You're not really getting that much money from censoring shit.
Well, they're trying to avoid, like, the content ratings so that they can market it to a larger audience.
Yeah. I mean, and that raises a good point, because like here in the U.S., if something were to get like an R or especially an NC-17 rating as a movie, you're severely limited to, number one, how you can market this movie going forward, and the theaters that will actually show it. I mean, R not so much anymore, but there are very few theaters out there that will even show something that's rated NC-17.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. I don't know. What are movie ratings like in Israel?
Most of the time you can just get into almost any movie you want. Now, if you're like
Wow.
No, not really. If you're like escorted with a parent, you can get into most films. There are some that are like 16 years old and above, which can enter, but with parents, but if it's like below that, you can't get at all. But it's not really, it's not that restrictive. It's kind of, I don't know.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have much to say about it because
Uh,
it's just it's not really
okay.
restrictive.
I just, but I mean, show brings up a good point. The lower the rating, the more you can market a show or movie or whatever.
That makes sense.
The more people you can market it to specifically.
Then again, though, if you like lower the rating, you sort of alienate the main group that sort of was the wanted to watch the film in the first place. Like with a certain film called Venom, which was supposed to be R-rated, but they turned it to PG-13.
Seems suspicious.
Seems retarded. That's what it seems.
Oh man, where was I going with this?
Sorry.
I know there was a I don't know. Fuck. Well, you guys mentioned it before. Well, way before about. I mean, there's so many avenues now where you can distribute anime that. I mean, you don't necessarily have to censor it because you're on a specific platform like Netflix, like Crunchyroll, Amazon.
I mean,
all
like
these streaming
earlier,
platforms.
like
none of them
earlier
force you to censor anything for content.
Like earlier this year, it's a perfect example. I mean, Devilman Crybaby. It's like they approached Yuasa and said, "Hey, you want to make this project? You can have like all the creative control you want over the project." And it's like super violent. It's super like borderline pornographic, but they just went all out with it, and nothing was censored. It's like,
And
I'm
it
okay
blew
with
up.
this.
It was super popular.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
okay with
Apparently,
it.
the only thing on Netflix not popular enough to get a second season.
I don't think
Yeah.
it needs a second season.
Yeah, there's.
But I mean, you make a good point. I mean, I think
I
with
try.
that, you're welcome. I think with these new streaming platforms, though, I think you're going to start to see maybe a reduction in the amount of censorship. I also think that Japan as a culture is starting to, I hate to use the term liberalize, but become more open to Western ideas. And the thing I point to with this is like over the past, I'll say maybe 5 to 10 years or so, I've seen a much greater acceptance within both Japanese culture in general, but in the manga and anime that they've been creating of like homosexuality. Whereas before they were like, no, get that away from us. Don't know, which is crazy considering that this is the same fucking country where people make doujinshi have been doing this for years of guys sticking their dicks in each other's asses.
That's for women, not for men.
Yeah, but it's still gay.
Is it though?
I'm pretty sure a man sticking his dick in another man's ass is pretty gay.
Nah.
Unless it's a trap.
No way.
It's still gay though. But I think it's from it's just my observation of what I've seen. But I still think there's this, I don't know if it's a compulsion or just a habit from some people to still self-censor that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm not talking necessarily about hentai because hentai is its own thing. It's its own beast for, it's something separate. I'm talking about like mainstream anime. And the thing that I wanted to talk about with this in particular was like in Yuri on Ice, right? Mm-hmm. Which I think we all agree is that there's definitely a homosexual relationship aspect to that show.
Not hashtag confirmed.
Excuse me, it is. Because the thing
they
point
exchange
to is,
fucking rings. What do you mean?
Yeah.
It was friendship rings.
Yeah, bullshit. Fuck you.
Get the fuck out.
The reason I bring that up is because there is a specific scene in Yuri on Ice, the quote unquote kiss scene, where the two main characters, Victor and Yuri, kiss each other. However, that scene is obscured by Victor's hand being in front of their mouths. So you don't actually get to see it.
That frame of the scene just seems a bit. Why even? Just let it be. Let us see it and be done with it. I don't know.
But do you think that was a form of
Weird
self
choice.
censorship on the part of the creators, or was it something that they did to kind of save themselves from any kind of
Honestly,
backlash?
Honestly, I have no clue. Honestly have no clue if where it came from, but they should have just like removed all like sense of doubt from it and just show us that they actually kissed. But I don't know.
Well, I mean,
It's strange.
and Kubo Sensei, one of the creators of the show, said, she was asked about it, and she said, yeah, they actually kissed.
Yeah, and they do talk about it, but it's just it's strange. I don't know. I do wonder where that decision came from, though.
Yeah, I don't know either. I'm very confused.
But I mean, you agree that it's kind of weird, right?
Yeah, it's very weird.
It's
Okay.
silly.
For
to
a
do
show
this-
that seems to be like very central around a homosexual relationship, they would censor a kiss? Like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest, they do everything but fuck in this show. So, I mean, it's such an innocuous thing to censor. Especially when you've seen Victor's ass
So many times.
so many times. And I need to see it again in the upcoming movie.
Speaking of censoring homosexuality, this is a problem that a lot of anime suffer from, is that I'm not gay, I just like you, and you happen to be the same sex as me. And I'm like,
It's like
What
Yuri and
are you
Yaoi baiting. Like Yuri and Yaoi baiting.
Yeah.
well, I don't know, is that baiting? Because like they're into each other.
Well, a lot of people talk about that with Sound Euphonium, though.
Yeah.
Where it's
No, that's not what I'm talking about.
Not well. Then what are you talking about?
When they literally say I like you, but I'm not gay. I don't like other people of your sex. I just like you.
Okay,
Which
so
is
well, can you give an example of that though, like a specific
no,
example?
I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I know it happens a lot in doujinshi.
Well, of course it happens in doujinshi, fucker.
No, but I swear it happens in actual anime too.
I can't think of one off the top of my head. I mean, I can definitely think of shows that do Yuri and Yaoi baiting for sure.
I
can
think maybe Akise Aru from Mirai Nikki. I could be wrong,
He's definitely gay though.
but I don't.
That's such a stretch, and you're talking about a shit
yeah.
show, so it's not like
no,
a
but
good
like
example.
no, most of these shows that I'm thinking of are shit in general.
Well, there
But
you go.
But
But-
are they shit because they're Yuri and Yaoi baiting?
No, they're shit because it's Mirai Nikki, let's face it.
You hate that show so much.
With a passion.
Oh man, the that show is all. Well, I won't say the anime is censored because it was made like that, but the manga for Mirai Nikki is much more violent than the anime was, and the
Not
anime is pretty
surprised.
violent. But no, I would say Akise Aru and Mirai Nikki. I think it's pretty clear cut that he's gay. But look at what's that fucker's name in Evangelion? Kaoru, yeah. I mean,
He was a cutie.
oh wow. I don't think your girlfriend would like you to hear you say that, but okay. If
was
you,
a
hey,
cool dude.
you've dug this hole, you can go lay in it, I suppose. She doesn't listen to the show.
Oh yeah. So I looked it up, and this is a panel from the manga. So he says, "I already said I'm not gay. It's love." That's what he says. He's not gay. He just loves.
Top-notch
this
writing.
man.
That is
Yeah, I
some
know. No, but that happens
top-notch-
all the time. All the time. I swear. Especially in like explicitly BL anime, where like it's about BL. They're like, but I'm not gay though. I just like men. And I'm
Back
They
like,
to
did the same
Evangelion.
thing. They did the
What?
same thing with the Citrus anime.
see?
Back
don't
to
know why,
Evangelion.
though.
I don't think it's a good case for like to use like against, because they're pretty open about him and Shinji being kind of like, I don't know to call it into each other, because I don't know if Shinji is capable of understanding what that means, but it's like there's something there, at least for
Well,
an
no,
episode,
you
and
don't
then
even
it's
have
done.
to. You don't even have to think about that because Hideki Anno has said that there was something there.
Yeah, well, there you go.
He says not only was Kaoru gay, he says that Shinji is bisexual, and he would have gotten with Kaoru if he could have.
Yeah, probably.
But I think the thing that show is talking about, I think it's kind of a cheap cop out, really.
It's so that the main female demographic can fantasize about the men.
Well,
to me, that's what I think it's about.
Maybe there might actually be something to that. I don't know, but there might be. It's really weird though. Maybe that just proves that there really is a difference between men and women. Men just want to see the fucking. Women just want to think about it.
Wow. Okay, I do not support Alex's sexist opinions.
Same. Alex's opinion doesn't reflect the rest of the podcast.
You're just jealous because I said it first and you were thinking it.
I was thinking of something else entirely.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
there is another form of censorship that I guess you could call this censorship, and that is censorship to avoid copyright violations. Now, I already mentioned one with Chio-chan School Road censoring
and No Game No Life.
And censoring Jump magazine. But I think they're probably the most blatant example of this is again in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, specifically with the subtitles that were used on Crunchyroll during and still from their original broadcast. For those who don't really keep up with JoJo's or don't know a lot about it, JoJo's has a lot of Western music and cultural references throughout it, and they use like real names of Western songs and artists and actors, all kinds of stuff like that.
So you'll see characters with powers that are called like Killer Queen, another one bites the dust, Crazy Diamond, stuff like that. That's influenced by Western music.
Yeah,
and then
and they very clearly say these things out loud in
English.
In the very broken English sometimes. But it's very clear from listening to them what they're actually saying. But yet the subtitles, I'm trying to think of a really good one.
Deadly Queen.
Yeah, well, in part 4, the Killer Queen is changed to Deadly Queen in the subtitles, and this is done for almost every single Western reference in JoJo's. I can think of maybe one or two in part 1 where that wasn't done. But other than that, it's been pretty much the same throughout. And I get it. I know why Crunchyroll does that. It's to avoid even the potential of people coming after them for copyright violation, even though it's not Crunchyroll's, creation. But I do want to point out that that's specifically something that Crunchyroll does, not the people that make JoJo's. So, But is that a form of censorship, or is that just trying not to get sued?
Yeah, that's just trying not to get sued. I don't think it's really censorship because there's nothing to censor. You hear the characters say the words. It's like
yeah. I guess you could always go in with that brilliant defense. Well, this is what it actually means in Japanese.
Also, I'm pretty sure the censorship laws in Japan are way stricter than the US and Canada. Like, there's tons of fiction in the West that references brand names, and like, it's not that big a deal in the West. So I don't think Crunchyroll has to censor it. I don't know why they censor it. I swear it's not because of the laws. I swear it's because of like some kind of agreement with Japan.
You know what? That there may be something to that. I mean, and you look at like you say in the West, just mentioning like if I were to mention like Pepsi or Coke or something, if I were like on a TV show or a movie, I mean, people do that all the time and no one ever gets in trouble for it. But it almost feels like in Japan, whether it's like a brand name or an actual like a living person's name, they're so afraid to utter it. I mean, hell, you can look at Devilman Crybaby is actually a good example of that. Fucking Donald Trump is in that anime.
Build that wall. Build that wall.
But they never say that's who it is. He just looks suspiciously like Donald Trump.
What a weird show.
Where was I going with this? But I think like what show says, that's something that's pretty indicative of of Japanese culture and Japanese like copyright. It's like they're kind of paranoid about that almost. Like another good example of the whole avoiding copyright thing, DK Pepper in Steins Gate.
Mm-hmm.
Which everyone knew that was supposed to be Dr. Pepper, by the way. And a funny story about that. When Steins Gate originally aired and they did the whole DK Pepper thing, Dr. Pepper has never been very popular in Japan as a drink. It's never really sold that well. Dr. Pepper has never really tried to market itself much in Japan. But after Steins Gate aired, people started like looking all over Japan. Where can I find Dr. Pepper? Where can I find Dr. Pepper? And actually, as Steins Gate was originally airing and shortly thereafter, Dr. Pepper sales in Japan rose like I think 500% over the course of 3 months.
Christina was
Christina. It was marketed. It was the show marketed the drink better than Dr. Pepper had. The show marketed it as an intellectual drink.
Mm-hmm.
And they still censored it.
And people knew what it was. I mean, in that sense, I think that some censorship is just pointless because people are not as stupid as some people seem to think that they are.
I don't think the purpose of this kind of censorship is that the viewers recognize the brand, so they're not trying to trick you. They're just trying to trick the system.
They're trying to skirt the rules just a little bit.
Sure.
All right. Well, that's all I got. I guess a good way to kind of end on this is, what are our personal thoughts about censorship?
Burn in hell.
I mean, I look at something like hentai and I think, why? You know why people got it? Why are you censoring this from them?
Nah, that's something that specifically is something with the law and stuff, you know.
Yeah, I feel like that's a cultural thing for Japan.
Perhaps.
Fucking pervert.
Hey, shut up. I resemble that remark.
I don't know. It's like censorship's a thing. Most of the time, it's like super unnecessary. Some of the time, it's just kind of there, but it doesn't really. I don't think it really damages anything. It's just I don't know. It's there, I guess. Don't have.
What about you?
Well, like when you brought up previously about Attack on Titan versus Tokyo Ghoul, I really enjoy uncensored anime way more than censored stuff. Like, I'm not gonna complain because like most of the time I don't even realize it's censored. But like my enjoyment just naturally declines. So I'm like, if you're gonna censor it, you're just gonna lose my interest.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people are that way. Where if you there's a fine line where you can censor a couple of things, but once you start censoring, it's like a curve. Once you get to a certain point, you've lost interest.
See, I'm suspicious. I can't confirm this. I'm suspicious that Overlord Season 3 is censored.
It's censored by bad CGI.
Shut up. And like, because some of the really violent scenes are just awkwardly framed, and there's like a lot of weird angles, and I'm like, if you just showed me the violence, I would be enjoying it much, much more. But I guess not.
It also comes down to sometimes people self-censor to like make a point or as a form of artistic expression. It's like a lot of times in anime you'll see like there'll be a violent scene, and instead of actually showing it, it cuts to like some slow pan of the rest of the room, and you can hear the violent act going on in the background. I think some people use that for a sense of like artistic expression, but I still think it's censorship.
Well, that's better than a black screen.
That is very true. That is very true. I still think self-censorship is a form of censorship, though. Whether it's good or not is definitely debatable. Right? Yeah. So I have nowhere else to go from this. I did not think we would talk this short about it. I thought we'd talk for hours about this.
Hey.
Where's Papa John when we need him?
Whoa. What?
No.
Oh, you meant actually John. Oh, okay.
Not that Papa. Oh, fucking A.
For a second, I thought you meant like Papa. guy who runs Papa John, or used to run
No, I'm
Papa
talking
now.
about our John.
He got
man, I'm
into some
hungry
trouble.
now.
Oh, better censor any tie, said Papa. Oh.
We should actually censor that though.
Oh no! See, this whole episode will just be all of us. It'll be like that censorship tone you hear in anime all the time, but it'll just be the entire episode will just be that sound.
Don't give John any ideas. He will do it.
I know he will. Because he's that dedicated to this. All right, well, hey, that's all we got. So thank you, all of you out there, for dropping in to listen to us. We hope you enjoyed it because we always enjoy bringing this stuff to you. Hey, be sure down below to tell us what you think about censorship in anime and manga. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I'm actually kind of curious as to what people think. If you want to check out previous episodes of the podcast, you can find us on SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube. If you want to keep up what we're doing and have a little more fun, you can join our Discord server, become a member of our Facebook group, follow our Twitch channel, and visit our website. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, criticisms, or concerns on this or any episode, feel free to shoot us an email. Links to all of these things will be down below in the description. As always, I have been your host, Alex, and I will see you next time. Say goodnight, everybody.
Night.
What's a thought anyway?
Come on.